Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to get started in a second. My words will be blissfully brief, and I think Brian said the same thing. We were just trying to decide if this was the 13th or 14th or 15th Bloomsday, but it was a long time ago. The first one we had actually was in a setting just like this at Chicago's Factory Doughs. And it was about the same number of people. We figured with the pandemic and trying to wrap it up, we weren't going to get a whole lot more people. And so I'm kind of glad we've got a little more intimate setting. I love to have it where we've had it in the past, but this will be a good way to come back in live performances. I used to give a toast. I'm not going to give one tonight, but the toast unfortunately went something like, may those who love us, and if they don't love us, may God turn their heart. If He can't turn their heart, will He turn their ankles so we'll know them by their limp? So that was not a good toast that we do. I want to thank Cafe American for coming together with this at the last minute, and for all of y'all being here and supporting us over the years. And Brian has been a true blessing to the club because of all of his talents, and has made my life much easier because I don't have to do anything for Bloomsday anymore except a little bit of prep work, and that's not much. Our new president, Liz, where you sitting? Right here. We have a new Baton president now. And Liz is going to be guiding us through all the fun getting back to it. And I want to point out, I'm not going to give the names because I'm terrible at names, but several of the people that have done, like Hannah, I can remember, have done some of the live or virtual performances. And if you haven't seen them, except for the one that Facebook ate, you can go to the Facebook page and see all but which was
St. Patrick's Day. They ate it. I'm going to put the individual videos up there. I just haven't gotten around to it.
They were amazing. So Brian Breen is our master of ceremonies, our musician, the one who organized all this. People thank me. I didn't do a thing tonight. The only thing I did, I'll stop it right now.
I do want to thank Rex for hanging the flag.
That came from Jerry Adams.
It came from Jerry Adams from the IRA. Okay.
Little Sinn Féin here.
We're going to start off with an instrumental tune set. This will be a reel set. Reel as in R-E-E-L, which is a fast dance form in 4/4 time. on the program here on the second page. But it's an international festival. This is the Louisiana edition of it. I don't believe they don't have one in New Orleans, so or Lafayette for that matter. So we're it. So it's a celebration of James Joyce, and then James Joyce, of course, being a very dense Irish writer that you all try to avoid on the crowd, but you realize that's okay, really. I mean, I think there's value in James Joyce for everyone. Ulysses is tough, and I read it once, and that was my summer reading in 2003 or something. But anyway, so we extend the concept of Bloomsday to be a celebration of Irish culture. Specifically the music and the literature. So we do have some James Joyce for you today, but I decided to change things up a little bit this year and do poetry. So we're going to have some readings from a collection of poems, 36 poems that he wrote, published in 1907, called Chamber Music. They're love poems, and they're more or less they are variations on the lyric love poem theme through English literature history, but colored by the late 19th, early 20th century sensibility. If that means anything to anyone. We're going that they're very accessible, and we're not doing all 36 of them. So I'm going to introduce my friend Mike Catchmer to read poems 1 through 4 for us. So,
Mike, by the way, has probably, along with Nancy Litton, been at more Bloomsdays as a performer than anybody else. So. He suffers through us, though.
Strings in the earth and air make music sweet. Strings by the river where the willows meet. There's music along the river, for love wanders there. Pale flowers on his mantle, dark leaves on his hair. All softly playing with head to the music bent, and fingers straying upon an instrument. Twilight turns from amethyst to deep and deeper blue. The lamp fills with a pale green glow the trees of the avenue. The old piano plays an air, sedate and slow and gay. She bends upon the yellow keys, her head inclines this way. Shy thought and grave wide eyes and hands that wonder as they list. Twilight turns to darker blue with lights of amethyst. At that hour, when all things have repose, O lonely watcher of the sky, do you hear the night wind and the sighs of harps playing unto love to unclose the pale gates of sunrise? When all things repose, do you alone awake to hear the sweet harps play to love before him on his way, and the night wind answering an antiphon till night is overgone? Play on, invisible harps, on to love, whose way in heaven is aglow at that hour when soft lights come and go. Soft, sweet music in the air above and in the earth below. When the shy star goes forth in heaven, all maidenly, disconsolate, do you amid the drowsy even, one who is hear them, one who is singing by your gate? His song is softer than the dew, and he has come to visit you. Bend no more in reverie when he at eventide is calling, nor muse, who may this singer be whose song about my heart is falling? Know you by this, the lover's chant, 'tis I that am your visitant.
Thanks so much, Mike. How about a song? So, I'd like to call up the lovely Hannah Wilkerson, who's going to sing with me. And you can put up with my voice and enjoy hers. So this song is a song, it's in Irish, but we'll be singing mostly in translation, in English translation. And it's called Cua Malone de Bui, which it translates roughly as the brown and the yellow ale, which some of you are drinking tonight. Some brown and yellow ale. And it's a silly folk song that the subject of which, if it has a subject, is a man and his wife are walking around, and then this monster figure called the Grega kind of takes the wife, or the wife goes with the monster figure. Now, it's a figure from mythology that appears in much more malicious form as, say the Minotaur or the Grendel in Beowulf, or the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. It's a mythological monster which really probably symbolizes, male sexual potency or something like that. But it's treated in a light-hearted manner in this song. And the reason I chose the song was that it was James Joyce's favorite Irish trad song. He had a funky sense of humor, so I am going to raise the music stand so I can read all these words. And I'm going to tune down to low D. So we got that. Guitar strings don't like humidity. I'm sorry.
They don't.
That's okay. I saw Andre Segovia in concert one day in D.C. after a rainy day, struggling with tuning his guitar after a rainy day. So I don't feel so bad. Myself and me wife were walking the highways o'er Grama Cree, and whom should we meet but the golden-haired Grega, Cua Malone de Bui.
He asked me to say if my wife was my daughter, Soro Grama Cree. I answered him truly she was my life partner, Cua Malone de Bui.
Will you give her to me for life and forever, Soro Grama Cree? And if you refuse me, I'm likely to harm you, Cua Malone de Bui.
You go the highways and I'll go the byways, Soro Grama Cree. And whoever she follows can claim her forever, Cua Malone de Bui.
He went the highways and I went the byways, Soro Grama Cree. So she followed the Grega since he was the younger, Cua Malone de Bui.
I returned to my home, dejected and broken, Soro Grama Cree. For 3 quarters I lay down alone and forlorn, Cua Malone de Bui.
Will she stay with the Grega a year and 3 quarters?
Soro Grama Cree.
And then she returned, disgraced and shame-bodied, Cua Malone de Bui.
Urban and yonder, what are you feeling, Soro Grama Cree? In spite of my friends, I still like my enemies,
Cua Malone de Bui. Well, what would you do if in death I should be you? Oh, Grama Cree. With 5 oaken boards, I make a coffin to suit you, Cua Malone de Bui.
A hug today and a hug tomorrow, Soro Grama Cree. And another we hug every day through the season, Cua Malone de Bui.
was a jig called the Conantman's Rambles. So now I'd like to invite up also longtime Irish Club member and Bloomsday participant, and she used to do our plays for us and all sorts of things like that. Nancy Litton to read poems number 5 through 8. Let's give it up for Nancy. Woo!
Thank you. Lean out of the window, golden hair. I hear you singing a merry air. My book was closed, I read no more, watching the fire dance on the floor. I have left my book, I have left my room, for I heard you singing through the gloom, singing and singing a merry air. Lean out of the window, golden hair. I would in that sweet bosom be, oh sweet it is and fair it is, where no rude wind might visit me because of sad austerities. I would in that sweet bosom be, I would be ever in that heart. Oh soft I knock and soft entreat her, where only peace might be my part. Austerities were all the sweeter, so I were ever in that heart. My love is in a light attire among the apple trees, where the gay winds do most desire to run in companies. There, where the gay winds stay to woo the young leaves as they pass, my love goes slowly, bending to her shadow on the grass. And where the sky's a pale blue cup over the laughing land, my love goes lightly, holding up her dress with dainty hand. Who goes amid the greenwood with springtide all adorning her? Who goes amid the merry greenwood to make it merrier? Who passes in the sunlight by ways that know the light footfall? Who passes in the sweet sunlight with mien so virginal? The ways of all the woodland gleam with a soft and golden fire. For whom does all the sunny woodland carry so brave attire? Oh, it is for my true love, the woods their rich apparels wear. Oh, it is for my own true love that is so young and fair.
Thank you, Nancy.
Something real quick.
Yeah.
Nancy
please.
was one of our first readers, and she helped to organize the first Bloomsday. And one of Brian's dear friends also read from Molly's soliloquy.
Yeah.
Just Google it. It's not what you might think it's about. And we had a couple of men up when your friend was doing it, that were doing it, and Nancy really nailed it. So we went from very sweet to Joycey and not so sweet.
Well, we're gonna go back to sweet in a minute here. So the next selection we're gonna do, the gentleman and I will do a tune called another jig called Gallagher's Frolics, and then we're going to transition from that into a song. And the song is a father-daughter duet, and it's called Daily Growing. It may not be Irish, it may be from somewhere else in the Celtic Isles, but it describes a upper-class family, arranged marriages, right? I mean, that was de rigueur. That was what people did in the day. They think that the song may date from the Middle Ages. The story probably dates from the Middle Ages. The song itself may date from the 18th century. Also known as The Trees They Grow High. So the father, who is a man of the nobility has arranged for his daughter to marry another young nobleman, right? And the only problem is he's 10 years younger than she is. And the young lady is not too happy about that, as you can see. However, she gets to know the boy, and then you'll see what happens in the song. I won't tell the rest of the story. So,
Kind of like that.
daily growing. I'm going to start this on mandolin. I give you the mandolin in the middle of the tune. You throw it down.
Yes, I
You could be a roadie too.
Right, what video was that on?
We did it as part of the fall. I think it was the fall program. Yeah, we actually recorded this song as a music video and filmed it as a music video back in the autumn. And I think it's in our.
on your YouTube.
It's on my YouTube. It is. And
The trees, they grow high and the leaves do grow green. Many's the time my true love I've seen. Many an hour I watched him all alone. He's young, but he's daily growing. Father, dear Father, you've done me great wrong. You have married me to a boy who is too young. I am twice 12 and he is but 14. He's young, but he's daily growing.
daughter, dear daughter, I've done you no wrong. I have married you to a great Lord's son, and he will be a man for you when I am dead and gone. He's young, but he's daily growing.
Father, dear Father,
Early in the morning, at the dawning of the day, they went into a hayfield for to have some sport and play. What they did there, she never would declare, but she never more complained of his joy.
At the age of 14, he was a married man. At the age of 15, the father of my son. At the age of 16, his grave, it was green, and death had put an end to him.
Everybody understood the story? So the story does deals with something that was obviously quite common in this time, which was premature death. So the young man is dead at 16, and we actually have a death in our club that I wanted to acknowledge tonight. Jim McHugh, who was a longtime member of the Irish Club. He was a board member at one point, and he was instrumental in getting our film festival off the ground. So I'd like to say a little toast.
Today is his birthday.
Today is his birthday, so I'd like to toast
Jim McHugh.
Jim McHugh. So I'm just here to take just a little 5-minute break. I was hoping there would be serving staff in here to take any extra drink orders or anything like that. Since there aren't any, we could just go on with the program. Randolph is actually out there somewhere, so we'll take just 5 only, really. Oh, here he is. Maybe we'll just go ahead and continue with the program since I don't see any serving staff here to take extra drink. I was hoping to do any extra drink orders now, but yeah. Thank you.
Be here for I have a Sam Adams
who will not be reading poetry. This is a man, a multi-talented man who is a extremely good singer-songwriter in his own right. He's also a professor, instructor in creative writing, and he's a writer too. And I've actually read his book of short stories. He's an extremely gifted writer, skilled writer. So, and he's going to talk a little bit about what you could get out of actually reading James Joyce. So this is Randolph Thomas. Put your
Thanks so much. Thank you, Brian. And thank you all for coming out to celebrate this day with us. It's great. It's always a great fun to get together in honor of James Joyce. And so tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit about reading James Joyce. And you know, I'm not a scholar or literary critic. I'm a writer, so I'm going to kind of approach it in that way. So this might be a little bit different. And I'm going to do it using an anecdote about how I got interested in Joyce's writing, or my first encounter with Joyce's writing. I know some of you are very familiar with James Joyce, some of you are not familiar with him at all. So, you know, that is as it is. But I know many of you are already fans of James Joyce, and I apologize if I'm preaching to the crowd, okay? But when I was a sophomore in college, I was taking a course in British literature. This is how I first encountered Joyce. And I know some of you had the same experience. Different story this time, Alan. It's Alan. When I first met Alan, he told me the story of first encountering Joyce in college through the story of the Dead and the beautiful final.
I was 43 going back to the second time. So.
Final paragraphs of the Dead. I'm going to talk about a different story. But this same year in college, I was also taking my first creative writing courses in poetry and short story writing. And so I was pretty primed, you know, to read writers and get excited about literature. In this course I was taking, we'd already read some interesting medieval literature, and we'd read Shakespeare, and we'd read the Romantic poets, and I liked all those things. So I was very excited, okay? I was very expectant of what was coming down the pike. Before college, before I went there, I was not a particularly well-read individual. I spent a lot of time watching movies and reading comic books, listening to records, and I knew nothing of James Joyce. Actually, I was familiar with Irish culture through a Clancy Brothers album that a friend of mine had, which is pretty good, you know. It's a good introduction. But I did not know anything about James Joyce. But everybody that I talked to, knew that I was interested in writing, said that he was a writer I needed to know and that I'd love. And he, of course, had an enormous reputation. So in the course, the day that we were to talk about Joyce, I read carefully, I thought, the story that had been assigned, which was Araby, which is an early story in the book. Many of you may know that it is a story about a young boy who is infatuated with an older girl who lives in his neighborhood. He goes to a kind of trade fair in the hopes of buying her a present, and in the end comes to realize that he is, as Joyce writes, a creature driven and derided by vanity. I read the story and I enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was great. I could feel the character's longing and his vanity, and I was greatly impressed by the details of the story. The damp books and the rusty bicycle pump the boy finds in the house that had belonged to the former tenant, a priest. I thought this was really interesting. I recognized that they were pieces of a lost and hard to comprehend past that the narrator of the story uncovers at the beginning, and I liked that. I thought that was interesting. It was haunting. I liked that the story had all kinds of interesting details and symbols. I thought it was fascinating. I also was interested in the uneasy relationships of the characters in the narrator's life, his aunt and uncle that he lived with. There's a scene where he's waiting to leave for the fair, and his uncle's supposed to bring him money so he can go, right? And but his uncle is late and inebriated when he comes into the house. And the whole setting and situation of the story seemed really down to earth and relatable to me. I thought it was cool and very interesting. When I came to class that day, however, I was in for a surprise. The professor who normally taught our class wasn't there. He'd been called away. And I don't remember why exactly, but a replacement had been brought in at the very last minute. Another professor. And I've taught now for 30 years, and I have nothing but sympathy for this person, right? But, and I can imagine him, you know, I can see him still to this day, sitting in the classroom in front of all of us. And it was a big class. He didn't seem to know what we were doing until he walked in. And he sat down at the desk, and I can see him thinking and rubbing his face as he opened the hefty Norton anthology that was sitting on his desk and turned to the page where Araby is. But he did something that day that changed my life as a writer and a reader. He changed the way that I read. He had a brilliant idea. Maybe it's something he'd done before, but doesn't matter. He opened the story, opened the book, and he said, okay, we're going to do this sentence by sentence. And he read, North Richmond Street, being blind, was a quiet street except at 4 when the Christian Brothers School set the boys free. And he read that sentence to us. And he said, pretend that you haven't read the rest of the story. A lot of people in the class probably didn't have to. But, point being taken, we did what he said. We talked about the sentence by itself. And the words Joyce used, particularly the word that stuck out as strange in the sentence, blind, and Joyce meant a cul-de-sac or a dead end. We talked about the rhythm of the sentence and the way in a short space it gave us some sense of both setting and, more importantly, of tone and action. Okay, so he went on and read the next sentence, and we talked about it. And he read the next one, and we talked about it. I was a little disappointed, I'll have to say, because we didn't get through the whole story. We only got through about the first 3 pages. But, and we didn't get to talk about some of the things I wanted to talk about, but what we did get was immeasurable to me, especially when he got to the 3rd paragraph and he read these sentences. When the short days of winter came, dusk fell before we had well eaten our dinners. When we met in the street, the houses had grown somber. The space of sky above us was the color of ever-changing violet, and towards it, the lamps of the street lifted their feeble lanterns. The cold air stung us, and we played till our bodies glowed, and our shouts echoed in the silent street. And I could see them, you know, and I was transported. And I understood that he wrote prose the same way some people write poetry. And his word choice, his diction, his syntax were amazing. And especially when I got to this next sentence. I lost my place. The career of our play brought us through the dark, muddy lanes behind the houses where we ran the gauntlet of the rough tribes from the cottages to the back doors of the dark, dripping gardens where odors arose from the ash pits, to the dark, odorous stables where a coachman smoothed and combed the horse or shook music from the buckled harness. Pretty nice sentence. Wow, right? Pretty amazing sentence. And in my reading of Joyce, this is the copy I had in college. And if you look closely, you can see the beard I'd drawn on Joyce. But I missed the complexity of the sentence when I was reading it on my own. I guess on some level I'd taken it in, but I hadn't really thought about what was so great about it. I'd lived it, seen what it was describing, but I hadn't really thought about it as a kind of agent of literary communication, a work of art. The sentence was so good, there came a point while I was reading that even when I concentrated, I forgot that I was reading. I was seeing and feeling, swept up in the energy of the images, and most importantly, the action of the sentence. I was with the kids in Dublin almost a century earlier. It didn't take a lot. I mean, this is a short story. It's like 5 pages. It didn't take a lot of setup or explanation or information to get me there. What it took was some carefully chosen images and some action. I was beginning to understand what good writing, performed in this case by a master of the art, involved. Like most of the stories in Dubliners, this great book, Araby doesn't convey especially complicated ideas. It's a story about a kid who misunderstands a conversation, who reads too much into it, and comes to feel that he's behaved foolishly. Soon afterwards, I read the rest of the stories in Dubliners and enjoyed them as I've enjoyed reading them over and over again over the last 40 years. Some of the sentences in the book, especially those in the conclusion of the famous final story, The Dead, another story about miscues and about vanity blinding someone, are very famous and frequently quoted. But it's a very earthy book about people, you know? And if you haven't read Dubliners, you should do it. Some other famous books by James Joyce are his autobiographical novel, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, which is, some people will tell you that it's a stream of consciousness novel. It kind of is. It's a close point of view. It's almost a non-fiction book because it's very close to James Joyce, but it's told again in his amazing language. He truly is the artist that he's drawing the portrait of. And his tour de force, this famous book Ulysses that we are celebrating, this tome that we are celebrating on Bloomsday. Ulysses is often cited as one of the great books of the 20th century. Like much of Joyce's prose fiction, Ulysses is a comic novel about a contemporary man, well, contemporary a little over a century ago, moving through his day. It's one day, right? Somehow this book has developed a reputation for being a difficult read. It is challenging in some ways. The language and the way Joyce tells it, borrowing a structure from the classical work, The Odyssey, and writing the sections in diverse styles. However, I think a lot of the culture around this, that surrounds this book, has made it difficult. There are tons of books like this one, Ulysses, Portals of Discovery, that will tell you how to read the book. There's nothing, this is a very earthy comic novel, and somehow the title Portals of Discovery has very little to do with this book. It may be helpful, but you don't need it, is my message. I myself had this book on my shelf for many, many years before I read it. I even lied to some people about having read it. Of course you've read Ulysses. Of course I have. It's on my shelf. It's on my shelf. Hello. I started it many times, starting in my early 20s. I finished it when I was in my late 30s, here in Baton Rouge, after I moved here, in a coffee shop. It's closed now. After many false starts. Here's how I finally read it. A friend of mine that I used to read books with, we had a kind of a reading group, told me he'd read it recently. Really? You really read it? How'd you do it? I said, he said he'd made up his mind he was going to enjoy it. He was going to read it through, just like a regular book. Ulysses, like a regular book. I was shocked. But he was partly right. It is almost a regular book. It is often funny when you get into it. The mistake I think many readers make, and that I made for a long time, was to overthink it. Don't overthink it. James Joyce has already done that. So you don't need to. Just enjoy it. That's what it's for. That's my thought.
Good advice.
It is kind of fun. It is funny. While I have your attention, I just wanted to let you know that Randolph's wonderful wife, Jane, designed our cover. She's in the house tonight. Pretty cool graphic there.
Any artwork that you see from the Irish Club for the last 15 years, Jane has done.
I would like to bring up the inimitable Mr. Dave Bess. He's one of our board members. He has been a part of the Irish play that we do almost every year. We're not doing one this year, I regret to say, but we'll probably be back the following year. And but Dave is going to regale us with chamber music poems 9 through 12. Okay.
In this first poem, we have the poet searching for his love, calling to the winds of May to no avail. Winds of May that dance on the sea, dancing a ring around in glee, from furrow to furrow, while overhead the foam flies up to be garlanded in silvery arches spanning the air. Saw you my true love anywhere? Well a day, for the winds of May. Love is unhappy when love is away. As a side note, Joyce had that last line in this poem engraved on a necklace that he designed and had sent to his love, Nora Barnacle, in September of 1909. The line was split in half. On the front, love is unhappy, and on the back, the other half, when love is away. In this poem, imagine a minstrel or jester singing of love and saying that the time for dreams of love is over and the time for love itself begins. Bright cap and streamers, he sings in the hollow, come follow, all you that love. Leave dreams to the dreamers that will not after that song and laughter do nothing move. With ribbons streaming, he sings the bolder. In troop at his shoulder, the wild bees hum. And the time of dreaming dreams is over. As lover to lover, sweetheart, I come. Joyce writes of seduction in this poem, inviting his love to ditch the snood, probably a ribbon in her hair indicating her maiden state, and welcome his love. Joyce had earlier labeled this poem my obscene song. Bid adieu, 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 bid adieu to girlish days. Happy love is come to woo thee and woo thy girlish ways. The zone that doth become thee fair, the snood upon thy yellow hair. When thou hast heard his name upon the bugles of the cherubim, begin thou softly to unzone thy girlish bosom unto him, and softly to undo the snood that is the sign of maidenhood. His
He was banned in America, so.
obscene song. And in this poem, Joyce refers to the hooded moon. That is a moon that is less than full, in contrast to the plenilune, or the full moon. What counsel has the hooded moon put in thy heart, my shyly sweet? Of love and ancient plenilune, glory and stars beneath his feet, a sage that is but kith and kin with the comedian Capuchin. Believe me, rather, that am wise in disregard of the divine. A glory kindles in those eyes, trembles to starlight. Mine, oh mine! No more be tears in moon or mist for thee, sweet sentimentalist.
Very nice, thank you, Dave. And talking about Nora Barnacle. So Nora was Joyce's wife, really common law wife, I guess. We had a presentation at Bloomsday a few years ago where my friend Karen actually wrote a play based on Nora's life after Joyce had died, and that was a lot of fun. Karen passed away a couple years ago in a car accident, so I still miss it. But Bloomsday is the anniversary of the last theater that I did with her. We were theater friends. We had done a lot of shows together. Anyway, I would like to have some more music. So this is a song called Shul Arun, which the hook line to the song, if you will, is in Irish, and it translates more or less as come quickly, my love, basically. And we'll welcome Hannah back to the stage.
try his fortune to advance. If he e'er come back, 'tis but a chance. Love's got way to avoid me Love's got way to avoid mean
Room was followed by Morrison's Jig, which is a really standard Irish session tune. It gets called a lot. It's one of the first tunes I think I learned off an Alan Stivell record back in the day. I would like to invite up to the stage Miss Eileen Hendricks. Now, Eileen was a professor of theater at Southern University, and before that, Oklahoma. Where in Oklahoma?
No, New York.
New York. I don't know why I'm thinking Oklahoma. You were in Texas, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, so close enough. All right. And she's going to read for us the final chamber music selection tonight, which will be from poems 13 through 16.
No, it's not. It's fine. Okay, I think you can hear me. Yes. Right? Okay. Go seek her out courteously and say I come, wind of spices whose song is ever epithelium. Oh, hurry over the dark lands and run upon the sea, for seas and lands shall not divide us, my love and me. Now, wind of your good courtesy, I pray you go and come into her little garden and sing at her window. Singing, the bridal wind is blowing, for love is at his noon. And soon will your true love be with you. Soon, oh, soon. My dove, my beautiful one, arise, arise. The night dew lies upon my lips and eyes. The odorous winds are weaving a music of sighs, Arise, arise, my dove, my beautiful one. I wait by the cedar tree, my sister, my love, white breast of dove. My breast shall be your bed. The pale dew lies like a veil on my head. My fair one, my fair dove, arise, arise. From dewy dreams, my soul, arise. From love's deep slumber and from death. For lo, the trees are full of sighs, whose leaves the morn admonisheth. Eastward the gradual dawn prevails, where softly burning fires appear, making to tremble all those veils of gray and golden gossamer, while sweetly, gently, secretly, the flowery bells of morn are stirred, and wise choirs of fairy begin innumerous to be heard. Oh, cool is the valley now, and there, love, will we go. For many a choir is singing now where love did sometime go. And hear you not the thrushes calling us away? Oh, cool and pleasant is the valley, and there, love, will we stay.
One more round of applause for all our wonderful readers and our presenter, Randolph. That was beautiful. I'm going to go home and reread all the poems now and reread Araby, which I think I had to read in high school and didn't really get it.
One sentence at a time.
Yeah, one sentence at a time. Alan, would you have any closing remarks to make?
I want to thank the marvelously talented people that over the years, and especially the last few years where Brian has been running everything, it's amazing that out of the Irish Club, the people that Brian has known, like candidates, brought into these things. Nancy Litton, who was involved with the first one, and Michael Ketchberg, who's been involved with almost all of them as well. Dave Bess, I'm leaving people out, I know. But this is our gift to the community. We don't charge anything for it. Normally, if those of y'all have been here before, it's wine. We never run out of wine, and we never run out of food. But this year just wasn't that. So we do take contributions if you ever want to do contributions, but this is our gift tonight, and we hope y'all enjoyed it. And Brian is really who deserves the biggest round of applause.
I'd like to just really introduce our president, Liz. She has a couple of words to say.
Thank you all so much for coming. Most everybody in the room tonight knows me and has known me for a very long time. A lot of y'all decades. If you're new here or if you don't know me, on the back of the program is a membership. So here it is. You can fill it out, you can send it in, and I can only say that even it is so ridiculously inexpensive to be a member of the Irish Club. Tell your friends, especially your young friends, like our lovely Hannah, because we are trying to grow the club, and we are trying to grow the club with young people. The next generation needs to realize how valuable and wonderful this organization is. So please sign up if you're not already signed up. Renew your membership if you have not done it yet. And please, myself and all those in my age group, remind your children and grandchildren about this organization. Thank you.
Started in 1950.
Oh, it started in 1950. Oh, what, 30? No, like about 30.
No, 1950.
Oh, you mean the Baton Rouge Irish Club?
It started in 1950. I think Liz was the president back then.
You see, that's what happens.
That's what happens when there's only 20 guys and 20 women in here.
Decades of friendship, and I can tell you this, folks. If you want a social organization, if you want to be with a group of people that could be your friends, this is the group.
You actually have to make sure you're taping this song, because one of the reasons I picked this song, which has nothing to do with James Joyce, is that Charles, who's one of our board members, loves this song, and he loves the band The Cranberries. And he was not able to make it tonight. He was indisposed. So we're taping it for him. So this song is by the rock group The Cranberries, the little 90s throwback there. But the song has to do with Irish history, specifically the history of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, the sectarian violence, which really happened in the late 20th century, from 1960, really 69, really 72 is Bloody Sunday, up through the Good Friday Agreement in 1998. Thank you. And but she also refers in the lyrics, Dolores O'Riordan, who wrote the song, refers to previous bouts of revolutionary violence when Ireland in 1916, when several rebels attempted to get Ireland's freedom from the English crown, which they were a colony at that point. So there's.
I think it took 7 more years.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. The violence caused such silence, who are we mistaken?
Lodger, and Tom, Brad Lodger on the flutes. So lovely. Have a welcome to. And I'm Brian Green. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.